listening to Through the Rec Specs. Now your host, Adam Hall.
Yes, sir. Welcome in, sports fans, to Through the Rec Specs, a sports podcast from the fans for the fans. And in this edition, the MLB All-Star Game goes out west. We have our second half predictions for the MLB season, as well as who's going to make the playoffs, and the U.S. women get one step closer to the World Cup. As always, I'm your host, Adam Hall, joined alongside by Jared Smith. How you doing, Jared?
Doing good. Bryce in North Carolina this time.
Hey, guys, I'm doing great.
Oh, you got a little switch up on us. He's in North Carolina.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen my tweet. You remember that tweet I sent out for you, Bryce?
I saw it about me just popping up everywhere.
You may never know. From the streets of NYC to the mountains in eastern Tennessee.
You can follow me on Google Talk, though, if you want. You can see wherever I'm at.
Him and Dr. Vol, very close on the map at one point.
Yes, on latitude, they were 0.1 miles away. I thought it was going down.
Yeah. That is interesting. Very interesting. You can follow us on Twitter at the Rec Specs, or send us all your emails, questions, comments, therecspecs@gmail.com. Of course, the All-Star Game was last night in, I guess it was beautiful, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, hot.
I mean, you never know. They've got the roof closed on that place, but there were some honeys hanging out in the pool down there.
That's right.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
But the NL, they win back-to-back All-Star games after the AL has dominated for the last several years. What did you get? What kind of vibes were you getting from the All-Star game, Jared?
I thought it was a good showing. Crookie, before the game, they asked him, who's going to win? And he was like, NL, they got the pitching. And I thought it was a shame that the AL didn't get to put out CC. Verlander wasn't able just because they pitched before. I think they need to try to fix that. But
Beckett got hurt, too, in warm-ups or something, so he didn't pitch.
Yeah, you're talking about Beckett?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. And, that's three studs right there that they didn't have. So I think that really hurt them. But I was glad to see the NL get the win.
Well, the NL did it in convincing fashion. C.J. Wilson comes in there, usually a pretty good arm, reliable for the Texas Rangers, and he just gets teed off on. What did you think about that, Bryce?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if maybe he just didn't prepare. Or, you just never know what happens. Like Cliff Lee had a little bit of trouble too, and some things just don't go so well for you in an All-Star game. I guess some pitchers just aren't really used to it, but I'm sure he'll bounce back from it.
Well, a lot at stake in the All-Star game. Obviously, the winning league gets home field advantage in the World Series. And Bruce Bochy and a lot of the Giants players said that really helped them out in their run to the World Series title last year.
Yeah, and I think just because they got those first two games at home, it just you're just more in a comfort zone. Your routine's on par. You've done it 82 times in the regular season. So it just helps you. It's just a little bit extra edge going into the playoffs. So
we saw the Giants dominate the Rangers in the postseason last year, and then we saw Bruce Bochy kind of dominate Ron Washington again last night. I know I was tweeting about it. I really liked how Bruce Bochy was always on attack. They stole 3 bases in the 5th inning, and that's something you don't really see in a lot of games, more or less an All-Star game. Bryce, what'd you think about some of the moves that he made?
Yeah, I liked it. I think John Kruk was talking about last night how he was saying, during the times when the AL was just dominating the National League in the All-Star game, is because the National League was just waiting for that big home run. But last night, they said you got to put some pressure on the bully, and that's what they did. And I like all those moves. I like that Bochy was doing that.
Starlin Castro had 2 of those stolen bases. My good friend Steve that I work with, he said, I'm glad that one manager is not afraid to get Starlin show what he can do on the base path. I guess Quaddy doesn't really give him the green light a lot of times.
Yeah, he doesn't, and we need a new third base coach too, man, because he's just horrendous. Me and Steve could talk all day about that. And Castro also was called out at home. So he had a little shaky moments there in the All-Star game. But overall, I think he played well. And, I love that aggressive nature that the NL was putting on display.
Well, that's got to be a little bit of first All-Star game jitters, too, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
But really what stole the show, you had Prince Fielder with the 3-run bomb in the 4th. But then the NL pitching, Bryce, 10 pitchers allow 1 run off 6 hits. Very impressive.
Yeah, pretty good. A pretty good night for those guys. especially against the lineup they were going against.
Obviously, the Atlanta Braves were well represented at the All-Star game with their pitching staff. Jair Jurgens had one inning of, I think, hitless baseball. Craig Kimbrell comes in there, but I mean, it was almost like you were joking about the College World Series a couple of years ago. Arm after arm after arm.
Yeah.
There was arm after arm after arm coming in from the NL and the bullpen, throwing not consistently above 96.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was a shame Hanson didn't get to make it, but the Braves will be a force to reckon with their pitching staff, man.
I sure hope so. And we'll move along to second half predictions in just a moment. You know, one of the big stories was Derek Jeter the weekend before the All-Star game. Obviously gets his 3,000th hit. First New York Yankee ever to get the 3,000th hit. And also has a bonus. If he makes the All-Star game, he gets an additional $500,000. He decides not even to show up. Is that fair or foul?
He shouldn't get that $500,000 though, so should he? So, yeah, I mean, the fans put you in there. They want to see you there. At least you could show up, right?
Yeah, what do you think about that, Bryce? I know you've not been up there in New York City over the past little while to hear maybe what's going on, but they adore Jeter in the Big Apple.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it seems like the whole Yankees team made the All-Star team. I don't know. It seems like their whole crew made it. I don't know. I know he was tired. He's just coming off an injury, but he came back, got the 3,000 hits. He says he didn't play because of, just mental and physical, exhaustion, and I can try to sympathize with him a little bit on that. But it would have been nice if he had gone because you were voted in. I mean, he hasn't really had that great of a season, stats wise. I mean, he just got the 3,000 hits, but he didn't get those, just his first half of the season. So to me, I was like, man, kind of like thought he was lucky just to be voted in. But maybe if he does get that $500,000, he'll donate it to charity or do something good with it.
Do you think that maybe that's Cashman or Girardi or somebody pulling Jeter aside and saying, hey, man, use this time to rest and recover, and we're really going to need you down the stretch this season?
I think they might have been chirping that in his ear, but still, I don't think they would say, you have to miss this. I mean, I think that was definitely his decision, and it was just I mean, he's such a legend up there. It's not really going to hurt him. In the long run. It's just, I guess the fans really expected him to be there, especially after he got his 3,000th hit over the weekend.
Yeah.
You thought, I mean, he would be like running around the field and standing ovation for Jeter. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's actually what I had heard leak, is that possibly they were going to do some kind of celebration for his 3,000th hit at the All-Star game. That would have been a pretty cool ceremony. So I do think it's kind of foul. I can understand maybe his take of why he didn't want to, but I still think whether you play or not, you at least show up.
Yeah, exactly.
Been several surprises so far this year. The Pirates have to be probably the biggest surprise. Bryce, we've seen just how hard they have. They can't even make it to 500, more or less, 4 games over at the All-Star break. What's really happened to that franchise?
Pretty cool, right? I know they're kind of got to be happy about that. Automatically when I think of the Pirates, I think of, was it 92? Barry Bonds, trying to throw out old man Sid Bream.
The Braves.
That's what I think when I think of the Pirates, and that's really, it's been a while since they've had anything to cheer about there. So I would like to see them to keep it going, maybe end with a 500 record and give the fans something to cheer about.
Yeah, over the past couple of years, the Pirates have just been the Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees farm club.
Yeah, pretty much. Them and the Marlins and Tampa Bay Rays.
You always hear about the big names. They come up through the Pirates organization, and then the small market team just can't hold on to them. So it's definitely refreshing to see the Pirates be able to compete. And nonetheless, in a tough division, you got the Cardinals, you got the Brew Crew. How do you see them showing out in the second half of the season, Jared?
I think they'll hang on for a little bit, but I think the Cards and the Brewers is going to come down to them. I would be surprised if the Cards don't make a move and win it. I mean, they have the best team, but we'll have to see if Pujols can stay healthy because he's the leader of the team.
An interesting fact I heard just a few days ago, the fewest runs scored since 1992 in the first half of a season. Just as Bryce said, 1992 just happens to be the last season that the Pirates made it to the playoffs. So we're seeing some low-scoring games, some dominant pitching. Like you said, you don't know if they can really keep up with those two teams, the Cardinals and the Brew Crew. Another